let's move forward then on to actually creating floors or some kind of architectural condition. And don't be intimidated about what I was saying about stairs and the accuracy of creating stair treads, because we're doing it extremely schematically, right? We're not actually going to be drawing the steel member of the stringer and extruding it up and then showing how do you actually do a pan with a concrete fill. That stuff is very, very advanced. For us, our stair is basically, is this the good one? Yes. Our stair is basically just going to be a box and then another box that we copy and paste and put on top. Okay, that's where we're starting for now. And the objective really is to understand that when you're creating a stair, you're not creating this box and then creating this box and then creating that box and then creating this box. You're only creating one box. And then the rest of it you copy and paste. It's very, very simple. You grab it from this point and you paste it on that point. And that point is the next point that we're going to introduce. That's called a midpoint. That's an object snap feature that you can use to do these kind of compound copies, or even just a referential copy from one point to the next. And you'll see what I mean about going back to the previous examples, because midpoint becomes really valuable for you when you're doing these cuts. So let's kind of look at this. I might need to do a couple more cuts here eventually, but for now, I'm going to put it in wireframe. Okay, so I'm going to put my perspective view in wireframe because I'm not quite fully developed on the perspective view yet. As a matter of fact, this is what I'm going to do. I'm actually just going to cut a side out of it. So don't follow along here, but I'm going to cut a side of it off so that you can see what's going on. Well, no, I'll do this. I will do what's called a clipping plane, but I'll teach you about these later. This is a feature that I'm only putting in here so that I can use it for teaching visibility. Don't worry about learning how to use it yet. So just to give you some context to what that actually is, a clipping plane will cut a model so that I can visually see a section of it in all views if I choose. So turn that on just in perspective, and I'll turn it off in the rest of my views. So that's what it looks like. If I pull this thing across, and let me turn on my gumball just so you can kind of see what's going on. If I pull this thing across, it will actually show me a cut. So here you see that it's kind of splitting the gap there. I'm going to pull it back so that you can kind of see everything up to there. Okay, so that is only a visibility feature for you. But let's move on. The top, it doesn't actually cut the model. And we will use this in great detail later on. We will, because you can actually create your section views right off of it. We'll talk about that in a little bit, probably a few weeks. But for now, what I want you to focus on here, I'm going to hide this so you don't even, whoops, hide that. No, I'll just put it on a layer, sorry. I'll put it on the clip layer, change object layer, and I'll turn that layer off. All right, so time to actually teach. What I want to show you here is using your top, front, and right views, and maybe a little bit of perspective, but not so much. Let's actually create a second floor. Or, well, let's start with the first floor. Mine might be different than some of yours because some of you left your floor on, and that's good, fine. But for me, because I cut off the bottom, I need to create another floor. So my base floor, I'm going to create a new layer for, and I'm going to just call it Slab. You guys can call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter all that much. So I create the slab. I'll put it on, I'll just put it on brown. hit OK. So the slab then, this is what's most important, and I'm only going to create one volume, and then I'm going to follow you, come around and follow you all through the process to make sure that you've all got it down. Workflow is starting right now from the base plane, right? My model here sits exactly at the origin. So when I create a box, sorry, let me activate the slab layer. When I create a box, if I don't have project on, look at it in 3D. It started my box from the top. See, that's not what I want. I want it to start from the bottom. The key is when I turn project on and I do a box command and I click in the top view at the top right corner and then I bring it back down to the top or the bottom left corner, it starts now from the bottom. That's the beauty of project. You could actually just click it in perspective, but I'm just trying to show you the functionality because not in all cases will perspective work for you. So anyway, at that point, all I have to do is give it a value of -1, and it'll push my slab down -1 foot below my box. So for some of you, your slab actually sits above the base plane, and that's because you did your offset surface with your bottom floor on it. That's fine. Don't worry about it. So I'm going to make sure that we all have a floor on our model before we move forward. It's very, very important. And I'll put it in the same video, so I'm just going to pause this. Any questions? Yeah, this is just for the first floor. Yeah. So I'll pause this and I'll be around. So the next component, everyone, is to actually make the second floor slab. So the second floor slab can kind of be established a few different ways. What I find to be most efficient is usually to build it at the base and then move it up if you're actually creating the floor, the actual floor plan yourself. So this part is going to get a little specific. What we have is a box that's 24 by 24, and we're going to create an opening where we go essentially, I'll call it 5 feet down here, and then this is going to be 5 feet over. And I'll walk you through this. Okay, I'll walk you through doing this precisely. And then we're going to go down, probably I guess I'm going to go 10 feet. And then I'm going to go 45 degrees out to the edge. So this is 10 feet, and then this is 45 degrees. Okay, so now we're actually building something that has some geometric complexity. We're going to create an actual architectural element with it. So to get us started then, I'm introducing you to 2 new things. Actually, is 45 going to work? I don't think it's going to work like that, but we'll do it this way. So I'm going to introduce you to the idea of not just creating a box as a solid, right off the bat, but actually using a polyline so that you can create a more complex geometry and then create a solid out of it. So the polyline, let's do it on a new layer. So go ahead and create a new layer and call it second floor slab. So it should start the layer probably in black or something like that. And I'm just going to change my color to something that I'm visually going to see a little bit better. So I'll make it orange. So project, right? This is kind of like the main subject of what we're doing here. Project is amazing in this case because if we're going to start our floor plate at the base level and then just move it into place, when we have complex geometry like this, we just turn on project and we absolutely know that it's going to be coplanar. And so what it looks like is this. Polyline is in the top left corner, just under the selection arrow. And you can just type in Polyline to start it too, but I'll just click it real quick. Oh, sorry. Activate the layer. Second floor, slab. So we turn on second floor slab and then we get started. So for me, my process, as I'm looking at this, I see I'm going to go 5 feet down on the right side. I'm going to go 5 feet in. Then I'm going to go 10 feet down. Then I'm going to go 45 degrees out. Right? That's my main cut. After that, I already have points that I can snap to. I've got this point down there, I've got that point up here, and this point which I'm going to start with. So I'm going to first go down there, then I'm going to go across to here, then to there, then to there, and then complete it. So a polyline can either be open or closed, right? It could just be a string of separate lines that goes to another point, or you can close it off into a complete loop. So closing it off is very, very important because that's what you need in order to create a slab that has thickness and it has a top and a bottom and all the sides and everything like that. So we'll get into that. Let's get started. Right, the start of the polyline. For me, when I have project on, and you can kind of follow what's going on. I'm going to move this so you can really see what's happening. Remember, I have my cut on the right side here. So as I start from the top right corner, that's going to begin down here. You guys can visualize that? Even though I rotated it, you can visualize what's happening? Well, you'll see it as we move forward. So it looks like this. Start of the polyline. I'm just going to click in the top right corner. So here you can see it's placing it. It's cut off a little bit, but that really is where the edge of the corner is. So the polyline is going to ask you for the distance and the orientation, very much like the move command. So when I type in 5 feet, I then need to anchor where that 5 feet is going. So I have another suggestion for you as a best practice. Even though I can object snap down to another point down here, my suggestion, always hold shift. If you know that you're drawing a line on a 90-degree angle, always, always, always hold shift. And then click. And see what it did. So now I drew my 5-foot segment going straight down. And now I'm drawing a 5-foot segment again. So I type in 5 feet for the next point of the polyline. So because now I'm going the opposite direction, hold shift. So I hold shift, and now I can anchor it to that polar direction, and I click. See how it's starting to take shape now, right? So the next one is 10 feet down. So I type in 10 feet, hit enter, anchor it, and click. And then again, going 45 degrees out is probably not what I want to do, actually. But instead, I'm going to use a midpoint, right? So rather than trying to go 45 degrees, which I have to change. Yeah, okay. So I'll just do that instead. Whoops. So there's a good I'm going to segue here just for a second. I made a mistake real quick, and I want to show you how to correct it. So I accidentally clicked in the wrong place. The good thing about Polyline is you don't have to cancel the command and completely redo it. If you hit undo, or if you go to edit undo, or if you just hit Control Z, it'll remove the last point. Okay? Just giving you a little hot tip. So the other thing I was trying to figure out here is doing a 45-degree angle. So what's happening when I hold shift is that it's snapping to an ortho angle, right? An ortho projection, 0, 90, 180, or 270. You can change that by right-clicking all the way down at the bottom for ortho, you right click and you can change your ortho angle. So I right click, I go to set ortho angle, it says ortho angle is 90, I can change it to 45 and hit enter. So now not only can I snap directly down, but I can also snap at a 45-degree angle. Oh, that's funny. My polar track is getting all funny. I have way too many polar track snaps. See how this is giving me a real tough time now because it's trying to track to all the 45-degree angles as well. So best practice for that is just get far enough away from it that when you hold shift, you don't see any of the polar tracks. If you can. So yeah, that's giving me some real trouble. I gotta clean that up. I want to make this cleaner for you. So now I know I'm working on 45-degree angles. I know that I can go 5 feet down, 5 feet over, 10 feet down, but I want to snap to wherever it falls along this line. So remember when I introduced to you intersect? Now intersect is coming into play. So polyline, I'm going to start it here. I'm going to go 5 feet, hold shift. 5 feet, hold shift. See how quickly this starts to come together? 10 feet, hold shift. Now, instead of typing in a distance, I hold shift. I put it on the 45-degree angle. See how now it follows that degree down? And I pull it all the way down until it says INT. Right? So intersect is now beginning to roll in to what we're doing. So I click that again, and now it's really easy. All I do is go off to the left and I snap to the inside corner here, snap to the inside corner there, and then I close it off by snapping to that corner. So it will take a little bit of time to kind of figure out how to draw the polyline. What I want to do is, before I get into making this thing a solid, I want to get you all to this point before anything else. So I'll recap. What you need to do is change your ortho angle to 45. Make sure your object snap of intersect, INT, is on. And then you just go about it doing your polylines as if they're individual lines all the way around. Are there any questions? Yes. To change your ortho snap, as a reminder, guys, right click on ortho. It's down at the bottom. It's one of your settings tabs. So you right click it and you go to set ortho angle, and it'll show up in the command prompt. Ortho angle, it has a number. You type in a new number somewhere in between 0 and 360 or 359. Yeah.
How do I hide the top view of all my cuts? So I'm making, I have the polyline activated, but
Yep.
on one of my top left, the top view, it's still showing my cuts from.
You won't be able to hide your cuts because that actually lives in the geometry that you're working on. So they're still going to be there. The cuts.
Is this a fresh box for you? Is that why?
Yeah, this is a fresh box. Mine isn't cut. So if you see it here, like my one cut that I have is right there.
Okay. That threw me off.
Yeah, sorry. That is a little different for you. It will look different. Okay, so I'm going to come around and make sure you guys are all caught up with the polyline. So when you click it here, oh sorry, I have a command active. When you click it, you'll see that your line, your yellow line, will show up above any geometry that that is present there. Okay, I'll be around.